Today we are talking about a misinterpreted love. I have two survivors. One is Tammy. I appreciate you coming on. And I also have Sylena, who is having some technical difficulties, and she will be on probably now. And what we're talking about is how it seems like there's a turnaround, and a lot of women are being abused at such a young age. You know what I mean? And I just was totally surprised that it starts so young. Tammy's situation, she met her abuser at 17, 18 during school. And then we have Sylena, who she knew her, well, Tammy knew hers through school. And Sylena, she knew hers through family. And she was 21 years old. And they were kind of talking about, I started off asking questions is, what was the pickup line? How did it start? So I'm trying to catch everybody up on it if you're tuning in right now, on how it started. And Tammy, she shared, that she actually went on their first date. They went to the movies and the entire family went, and she wanted to get out the house. And once she got out the house, she went over to his place, and his mom was more like a friend, and his dad was open, and she felt free. Okay, go ahead, Tammy.
He stayed in separate homes. Like his dad was with the lady he called his wife, and so his mom, she was raising them, but he actually lived with his dad. And things had gotten kind of heated between him and his father, and he decided he was going to live with his mom. And to me, that's when his life really changed, because he had no structure at all. It was just basically what he wanted to do.
Okay. All right.
I can remember us, hanging out and being over there, and it was little things I had started to notice. And because
wait a minute, 1 second, Tam. So you moved out of your home and moved in with him and his mom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it was we used to do things together, and at first, everything was okay, but then it was if I went somewhere, I was starting to get accused of doing stuff with other people, or I saw you looking at my friend. I was beginning to be accused of things that I wasn't doing. It was he was jealous, and it didn't matter if it was family, if it was my best friend. He always seemed to phantom in his mind, when I went to my aunt's house, I was with, he would say I was messing with her sons. Or when I went with my best.
Accusations start from the beginning.
Those accusations actually started after I graduated.
Okay.
And I was 18 going on 19.
Okay, so it took about a year. That's when you started seeing it. Okay, Sylena, go back to yours. Let's see, we gonna make this work, okay? Look, I'm like, we gonna make this work today. I'm like, why does it keep going out? All right.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can definitely hear
you. Okay. So that's how I met him, was through a friend and stuff. And like I was saying, me and my sister lived on our own. He would come over and see that we didn't have any food. And he's like, oh, y'all don't got no food? Come on, let's go to the grocery store. He took us to the grocery store, bought us food, and, was always there, gas, just doing things that I had never, I was 21, I never had anybody do for me before. He just came in being a real gentleman, honestly.
Okay, and that's what attracted you to him.
Yes. And because I was young and I didn't have kids, I wasn't really attracted to men with kids. And he told me that he had one kid. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, I don't know, 8 or 9. So she was like a big kid. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's okay. And then later on found out that at that time he actually had 5 children.
Was that after you guys got together?
Yes, because while we were together, I mean, he only told me he had 1. Then I met his mom, and his mom said, "Don't have no kids by him. He the reason I got 5 now." And I said,
"Oh, his mother told."
Yes.
Okay, so both of you have some similarities, and I'll tell you exactly what that is. They were the heroes. Am I, safe in saying that
Yes.
both of your abusers were heroes. They came and they saved the day. She was wanting to be free, so she got out, and then your guy came and bought you everything you needed for your first apartment. So, okay, so they were the heroes. So this was the guy.
Yes.
Right.
This was your guy. All right. Now, Tammy, she shared that the first signs that she saw was jealousy. What about you?
I would say the first couple of signs I seen was definitely he isolated me from my family.
How? Please share. Let me say this. I was working, and a young lady came to work, and a young lady came to work, and when she came to work, she had a black eye, and young girl. And when she had the black eye, it was almost like the norm after I was communicating with her. And then I said, wait a minute, this is more like popular. And that's a sad term to say that it's popular. Then I started talking to other young females that were, coming. They were like, oh yeah, I just know what not to do to get them upset. That's what one young girl said. I was like, oh, I have to address this issue. This is not okay. And it seems like, look at Nick, the voice of the people, like, we already know, I got you. I want to introduce Kim Ham, the go-to girl. She is a life coach, okay? She's a certified life coach, and she's on there. She's not pictured though right now. And then you guys can communicate with her and talk to her, or if you know somebody, refer her, because she is definitely the person, okay? That's my girl. It was almost like they were comparing their war scars, so to speak. And that's what I actually got. I'm listening, and she was like, oh yeah, I had it. Yeah, I had a few black eyes. That is not okay. And to me, I look like, oh my gosh, these babies, 19, 20. And like Tammy said, she met hers through school, but 20, that is not the life that you should be living. You should be having a blast, a blast. And then you find some of them, they have children and they don't want to be a statistic to be a single parent. But I just have to say, you can be married and end up being a single parent. It happens. So don't feel like you have to stay in a situation because you have children. And Kim, you want to go ahead and say hi? I already introduced you. Let's see if Kim, you there? All right, well, we'll wait till she come on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. All right, how you doing?
I'm okay, but it's like my audio is tripping. So I'm trying to get it where I can see and hear at the same time. Like right now I have my phone up to my ear, but I can hear everything. But okay, where are we at? I heard you say don't stay in a situation because you have children.
Yes, and we were talking, I was talking to them and I introduced you, but then you were going in and out. That's all, just introduced you. And then,
hey, everybody.
Hey.
All right, but you can see us okay?
I can see, and I can only hear if I have it up to my ear. So I'm trying to get it where I can see and hear by looking at my screen. Right now, I can't do that. So right now, I'm just listening. And if I want to look, I'll take the phone away from my ear and look.
Okay.
That's where I'm at right now.
Oh, okay. One second. Okay. So let's go back to, okay, Tammy, you started with, he was accusing you of looking and wanting other people.
Yes. And in the process of this, I found out I was pregnant with my first child. And it got worse. Like, the friends that we both had mutual, because we went to school together, it was like he didn't trust me with them. Like even going to my mom's house to visit, it was always something like I was being accused of. And it was crazy how in my mind, like I really would think like things was my fault. And I can remember the one time he accused me of, it was a young lady that I found out was my cousin on my mom's side of the family. And they lived around the corner from where he lived, actually. And he had made a statement that because her father would give me a ride back around the corner when I would go visit, he had made a statement like, accused me of messing with her father. And I can remember like getting up and standing up like, why would you say something like that? Like I would never do nothing like that. And for the first time, like that's when he hit me like, don't ever step to me. And it was bad because when he smacked me, it just like took me back to when my mom would slap me across my face. Like, I'm like, whoa. I'm like, here I go, like again, in this cycle, like what I was running from. But instead of me just like, okay, I'm going to leave and I'm not going to deal with this, I just sat down. Like I couldn't believe he had hit me. Like I could remember sitting there holding my face, like he really just slapped me.
Okay, now how long was that from that first hit from you moving in with him?
That probably going into like the 4th month, because I remember I was close to having my son. I was close to being 19.
Okay. And then he hit you. When he hit you, did you feel as though that you were, it sounds like you were shocked, but did you feel
I
as though
was.
you were accustomed to that? So you left home because of that to go right back into that.
Yeah.
So did you tell him about what was going on at home? Did he know prior to?
I used to always like tell him like, my mom was really, really strict. And, he used to be like, he got whooped, but I used to tell him like my whooping stories. Like we used to converse these stories and compare. And I'm like, no, your mom is like, no. And so he knew what I had been through. And at the time, in my mental state, like I hadn't established yet that like it was a cycle that I was dealing with my mom too. And then to go into this, and I can remember when he hit me, like in my mind, I started to think, what did I do to cause him to get that upset? And how could I prevent it? And I remember telling him like, okay, well, I just won't get a ride around the corner from him no more. I just walk. Wow. And it was more or less me trying to make him feel okay about it.
Okay, making him comfortable. So you became uncomfortable.
Yes.
Okay. Sylena, the first time that you saw the signs, the first red flag before the parade came.
I would honestly, other than him finding out he was lying about his kids, which was a really, really, really big red flag that I ignored. Not gonna lie, I did. And then looking back, like, wow, he isolated me from my family.
How was that done?
How was that done? He basically was like, me or them. And in a moment of like anger and I guess kind of like Tammy a little bit wanting to get away, I got in the car with him and left. And when I got with him, we lived with his uncle. And when I got with him, he made me changed my phone number, and my family wasn't allowed to have my phone number. But I don't know if you remember when the Google numbers came out. I had a Google number, then my family was allowed to have the Google number. It was almost like he had, I mean, this was before he even started abusing me.
So how far in the relationship did that take place?
Oh, this was maybe like a year.
A year in?
Listen, my family definitely calls him a wolf in sheep's clothing, because it came out of nowhere. I had no idea. I mean, he was like cool up until the point where he wasn't. And I was listening to Tammy talk, and it's so funny when she said she blamed herself, because that is exactly what happened. I remember sitting in a chair. I said something smart, and he hit me. Me and the chair both was on the floor. My lip was busted. But like Tammy, I blame myself because, okay, I said something smart. So maybe it was my fault, you know? So as she's talking, I'm just shaking my head like, wow, you know, I blame myself too. You know, after the first time him hitting me, I did.
Okay. Now, why did he say it's either your family or him? What happened prior to that he gave you that ultimatum?
Oh, prior to that, I guess my family had started to see him for what he was, and I refused to see it. So it was a really big argument at my grandma's house. My mom lived there. We stayed in my grandma's back room for a little bit. And I mean, I can't remember what the altercation was about, but I just remember it being real big. He got in the car. You coming with me or you staying here? And I got in the car. And after that, for a long time, we actually lived in the car. And I left my home where I was welcomed and loved and didn't have to struggle for meals and didn't have to worry about anything, to literally sleep in a car with him.
For love?
Or what? No, not for love. For what I thought was love. Yeah. What I thought was love, and a little bit of the fact that he controlled me. Control and what I thought was love, because that's definitely not love.
We know that now. That's why I had to have y'all come on and speak to the youth.
That's the truth.
These young girls believe that, and I don't want them to feel like, am I stupid? Am I the only one? Did this happen to me? Well, clearly some of them know that they're not the only one from the conversations that I was overhearing, and I was really like, I was outdone as to how many people, and this is somebody you're in a relationship with. And most of those females that I did converse with, they lived in single parent homes. You know, they were brought up, so there was no father figure, but one had a father figure. And I got her story because she saw it. Then another one had, and that was both her parents together. And it was just her parents, her mother, her, and she's an only child, and the father. Here's what's similar to your story. The mother, they didn't mess with the mother side of the family at all. The father did not allow them to deal with the mother's family. That's why her and her cousin, that they were like, oh, that's my cousin, but they didn't really know each other. And that's why they didn't, because they weren't allowed to deal with that side of the family. So mom was already isolated, and then they had a child and they stayed together. So she saw the control. But what she didn't see was physical abuse from her mother. So it was more mental, but she ended up getting the physical abuse in her relationship. So I'm like, okay, I see that pattern. But the other ones, I mean, when they started, it bothered me when they started comparing battle wounds. Oh yeah, girl, my arm was broke. That is not okay. Listen, that is not okay. And we're talking about young girls. And then when the one young girl came with the black eye, and I'm like, she came to work with a black eye. She still came to work. And she was okay with that. There was a time when you got beat up, oh, I fell on the doorknob. You know, there was excuses. Now there's no more excuses. They just come out, oh yeah, he did that. Like it's okay. And that's not okay. And I'm just like, how did they get there? Let us help these young women. Let us find a way when they see the first red flag, because you know, it's usually the honor guard. You see one red flag, the parade to follow. Look back, here come the drums, the majorettes, everybody. That's your first sign. So that's why I appreciate you, survivors, coming on to say, hey, listen, this is how it started for me. Because people look at you and they look up to you. Both of you ladies are well respected and don't know your backstory. And it's really important that people understand the backstory. You don't have to, in church, we call it a testimony. You know what I mean? Look, in the streets, we call it, I know where you've been. You know what I mean? You got those people, and then we call them haters. We're like, what? That's not where I'm at now, and it's not okay. But I just wanted you guys, you know, when people look at you and see where you are, both of you ladies are professionals out there doing your thing, handling your business. Wonderful parents, I gotta say. Wonderful parents. And people don't know your story, and they may be struggling like, well, she always smiling. And I'm gonna tell you, the little people, they look at you. They look at you and be like, hey, oh man, she's nice. She does this to her children. Tammy, I hear it all the time. She does this, she does that. And I say, yes, she does. Mommy, how come you don't bake? How come you don't cook? Well, that ain't my ministry. I was like, but you could always call Tammy, okay? That's what you want to call. Yeah, you know, so, you know, just knowing, and then knowing, you know, you, Sylena, and how you are with your children and looking at the bigger picture. And it's like family first, family first. I see that. Okay, so don't feel like you're not doing enough and people aren't watching, because people are watching, and the younger people are watching and looking up and saying, oh, well, I want to be that way. Oh, well, look at her. She's doing this, but they don't know your backstory. And not that everybody needs to know your backstory, but if it can help someone, and this platform right here is actually helping them to let them know, guess what, sis? You are not alone. It too happened to me, and I got out. And let me tell you how I got out. And let me tell you the telltale signs of how I got in. Okay. That's why I named today's show A Misinterpreted Love, because some people just don't know. It's like, this is love. Okay, here you go. The savior at the beginning. So I'm going to go to my next question, or question and point. At the beginning, this was your savior. Then he struck you once, manipulated your mind. He isolated you. You were isolated as well because you were in the household, Tammy. And then here comes the strike. That first strike, Tammy, you told me you were in shock, and you were in shock too, Sylena. So it was a slap. Y'all got that in common. The slap was first.
Yep.
And then you blamed yourself, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have did this. So this is a trigger for him. So let me not do this. Not looking at or thinking, well, what about my triggers? Things that I put up that I don't like that you do to me. So what was the second hit? Do you remember the second hit? Usually people don't. They remember that first one. That's impactful.
Yeah. I can honestly say I don't remember the second. It all just blended together after that.
What about you, Tammy?
I can't. I just remember they got worse.
Okay.
They got worse.
Okay, now let's skip through and we're going to fast forward. So they continued. What was your breaking point? And I'm going to ask you, Tammy, what your breaking point was first.
My breaking point was like, it wasn't like one day I decided. It was a process. And I'm gonna say probably like 2 months process. I remember I began to be tired. I was tired of going through this. I was tired of being hit. I was tired of trying to put makeup on to cover it at work. It was so many things. And it was my aunt, like really at the time, that enlightened me on something about a person's mental status. And she told me, like, he's not going to stop. But she was the one person that I always would share things with that I was going through. And she would tell me, like, you don't have to. And her, as much as we hung out, it was like she was building a courage inside of me.
Okay.
Because my self-esteem was low. And I was so broken, and I didn't even think that, like, I could, in my mental state at that time, oh my goodness, like, I felt like I was never going to be able to get out. And I remember telling my aunt, like, after he drank and passed out, I'll be thinking about how I'm going to kill him and get away.
Oh, girl, got me over here. Where my love, where my napkin? Like,
And I can remember telling her, who gonna take care of my kids if I'm not here? I couldn't live with the fact that somebody else taking care of my kids. And I knew I wanted to leave him. But I didn't want my kids. I didn't want my kids to have to live without me. And I didn't want to have to live without my children. So my aunt, she like, Tam, when you get ready to leave, just, let me know. I'll be there. I said, Auntie, I'm tired. And the fights became him fighting me to me fighting back.
Okay, so you started fighting back.
I knew I was tired because I never, like, struck him back. And when I did, it just seemed to set his whole soul on fire. Like, you hit me back, how dare you? And that's really when the thoughts came in my mind. Like, I'm not going to be able to get away from him unless I kill him. Like, he either going to kill me or I'm going to kill him. And I was like, I'm not going to be killed. Like, that was my mental at that point. And I remember, like, when it came to my son, it's so crazy because even though I was on my second child, I noticed the jealousy that he had for my son, and it would enrage him, the love that my children have for me and I have for my children. So I knew it wasn't going to get better, but it was like I was so deep in, I didn't know how I could just leave. And I knew that I couldn't just grab my bag and walk out the door. That wasn't happening.
Did he have help? Because you guys were still living with his mom, or were you on your own?
By then, like, we had left his mom's house and thinking, like, okay, it's going to diffuse the situation, because it was like she was the gasoline and she would say things to him and get in his head about me, and it would infuriate him to me. He didn't know how to, and they say a lot of men deal with this, like, they don't know how to separate mom from girlfriend or wife. They keep them in the same category. It was like he didn't know how to be a son to his mother and be a father to his child and be the man in my life. Like, it was always things his mom didn't like. And if she said anything to him about what she didn't like that I did or felt out of place, it was him coming at me. Well, my mom said you do this, and my mom wouldn't lie and make this up, and don't say nothing to my mom. It was like I was battling two fights. The only thing, me and her never got physical, like, almost, but we didn't. And even though, like, when we lived together, I'll tell you, like, God had angels watching out for me, because many a times, like, I probably wouldn't have been here if the lady across the street wouldn't have called the police and sent them there.
What happened?
Like, he began, like, the hits turn into the choke out. Like, I tell people, I know what it means. I know what it is when they say, and I learned this working for hospice, you don't say things around people that are dying or taking their last breath because they could still hear you. The hearing is the last thing to leave your body. And I can remember on several occasions where I'm fighting for that last breath and I could hear my son in the background crying, like, and I knew like I couldn't go, like, even though I laid there motionless, I could feel the life where he must have just decided to let me go. I could feel the life starting to come back in my body.
Yes.
And I knew, and it was me starting to tell people like, this is what I'm going through. And I could remember telling his grandmother, and this is somebody he loved dearly, and I didn't think that she would believe me. And at first she didn't, but it was the one time I remember I was going back to work after being off of my 6 weeks. And I had just gotten out the tub and he jumped on me. I had no clothes on. I could remember him choking me out. I was bent over the toilet. Like I couldn't move. And I'm fighting like, stop, you know. And I could remember hearing something. It sounded like a gunshot. And it was his grandmother. She broke the screen door. And I could hear her footsteps coming up the steps. And she couldn't believe it because she seen it with her own eyes. And I never seen her so infuriated. I can remember this lady being on oxygen, carrying an oxygen purse. She could not believe it. And how he talked to her, he didn't have no respect for her. And I knew then, like, I don't stand a chance. This is this boy's grandma. And he talking to her like she was just a normal person out in the street. And I can remember her saying, Tammy, I'm so sorry that I didn't believe you when you told me. And she said, you got to leave him. She said, that's my grandson. She's like, but that is evilness. She's like, don't no man supposed to treat no woman like that. No woman should have to go through that. And I can remember her saying, this child that had your baby and you putting your hands on her. She said, you don't have no right. And I can remember telling Miss Rose, I want to leave. Like, I'm just scared because this is what I go through every time. And she said, you have to leave him. You have to get the courage to leave. And that point in my mind, I just kept steadfast, like, I'm leaving. I got to leave for the safety of my kids. I didn't want them to go through what I was going through because he already was physical abuse to my son. And it wasn't till years later that he admitted it, what he had done. But you already feel it in your what they call a mother's intuition. Like we have the answers. They be right there in front of us. All we have to do is pick them up and take them as what our body is telling us. Like, it's right there. And I knew it was like, I'm questioning, like, well, what did you do? But it was, the answers was right there. I just didn't want to believe it. I couldn't even think like a person could be so low down and do something like that to a child that come from you. And then to just sit and lie. And I felt like if I didn't get my kids and myself, I wouldn't be here today. I knew that I wouldn't. It was bad. Like, people, me saying it's bad, it don't even measure what I went through. That's the only way I could say it was bad on so many levels. Like, and to this day, he never really admits it. He makes like I made it up. Even when my son said, you know, there was things I remember I used to pray so hard, like, Lord, please don't let my son like remember or even act out any of these things that he went through with his father. And I know he only could have been like 2. And when I realized my son was scared of his father, because my son was potty trained, and then when we moved back together, it was like He started having accidents. He wouldn't eat. He was like standoffish. To be so young and to be that way, I knew that it was like I had to leave. When I left him, I didn't go back. You know, I tried the visitation. Oh, he was going to get help. Oh, I'm getting help. They talked to me about it one time. It's not help. He never changed.
And it was
He
okay,
absolutely never changed.
Okay, Sylena, I want you to go with your worst moment.
Um,
And when you decided to say enough is enough.
my worst moment, because I mean, I keep saying this, I don't want nobody to think that I'm stealing her story, but like Tammy, it turns into the choking real bad. And
No, you're not still in the story, but the similarities
it's just
are there.
so similar. And she talking, and I don't know if y'all hear me. I'm like, yes, it's just so crazy because, yes, I'm driving down the street. We are both in the car. I'm driving. I don't know what I did because at this point, I'm walking on eggshells because any little thing seemed to tick them off.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm driving down the street. I have no idea what happened, and out of nowhere, he chokes me, and he chokes me till I pass out. I'm driving though. Us both. I pass out, and I can hear him say, "Ain't nothing wrong with you. Ain't nothing wrong with you." So I wake up. I'm like, I'm shaking. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I was afraid to be in pain. I was afraid to, to show that I was hurt. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. Another time, my cousin, she kind of like set me up to where he came to my house, and
Wait, so you guys split? You were done?
no, because at this point I moved back with my grandmother. Okay. And one day he was calling me because I'm at my breaking point at this point too. So I try to stay away from him as much as I can and don't answer his calls as much as I can. And he calls me to come over and I don't. So he sends my cousin to my grandmother's house to knock on the door. And she, the person who answered the door telling her I'm not home. So he calls me then and he like, I need you. And he knew I was coming. Like, I need you. Some bull stuff happened. Come get me. I need you. So I go get him. I go over there and I see him walking in the middle of the street and he said, move over. I knew right then. I moved over and he backhanded. Drove to the house, get to the house. My cousin and her friend and his friend was there. And my cousin looked at me and she said, because we sitting in the car, he had choked me till I passed out in the car. I woke up. They seen it happen and they look at me and my cousin go, Cuddy, why you ain't answer the phone? Yes.
You came too? That was the question?
That was what she asked me, why you didn't answer the phone? So they leave, even though I think about it like they had to know what was about to happen to me. And they all left me. And we get up in the house and he is literally choking me everywhere. And he told me, bitch, I'm about to kill you. Sorry for cutting. He said, I'm about to kill you. And I remember saying, can I please just call my mom? And just tell my mom that I love her. And he told me no. And I just remember having to turn the situation sexual. And I ended up going down on him so he could stop choking me. And that right there, it changed the vibe in the room. And then he quit. But it was just really bad because I felt like I was dying because he would choke me till I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, and then he would stop. I don't know if he got off on it, but he kept doing that. And I remember I had to perform oral sex on him so that he could stop choking me around the room. Because I mean, it literally went from the hallway to the bed, to the wall, to the other walls. back to the bed, all around the room. And when I had enough, I was pregnant with my son. And he went in to choke me. And I said, but what about the baby? And he said, B, I'll kill you and that baby. And I said to him, I said, no. I may love you more than I love myself, but I'll never love you more than I love my son. And I believe that God gave me my son right on time, because if it wasn't for my son, I probably wouldn't have had that much courage to leave. And I do not believe that I would be sitting here talking to you about it today. My son is definitely a blessing, and I always tell him that he saved my life. He did. He definitely did save my life.
Okay. Now, Tam, as far as you found love, both of you guys, y'all found love. How does it feel, and how did you go into like your current situation? Were you skeptical at all, or do you look for the signs? And just talk to us a little bit. Let us know, the listening audience know, that there is love out there.
Wow. First, you always, after you've been through something like that, you do, like, you look for signs. It's like you on the outfield observing. I call it playing the both sides. You know how people say, once you get out of a bad situation, it was just like when I got out of my situation with my kid's father, I could remember feeling like I was on the outside looking in and saying, what in the world was I thinking? Why did I let myself go through this mess? Like, I didn't deserve it. And then as my courage and my self-esteem began to build, I wasn't afraid of him no more. So then being in new relationships, I find myself standing on the outside looking in and saying, okay, is anything wrong with this? To make sure I don't sabotage my relationship versus just being mindful of what's right and what's wrong. Because sometimes, and I'm going to say, depending on your growth mind state, you can sabotage a good relationship versus an abusive relationship. Because you be so afraid of going back into being in that place, you can run somebody away that's really just genuinely a good person. And I had to be open and honest with the guy I currently dating and tell him, like, you know, I have some issues and they didn't come from him. You know, I'm a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
Because prior to him, my trust was broken with dealing with men. And I know that he's a trustworthy person, but at first I didn't like allow myself to trust him. And I had to tell him, I'm working on it. It's not nothing against you. But I told him, you'll know when I fully trust you as a person. You'll know. But I had to work on it because I'm like, I'm going to run him away with all my what's going on and no, this ain't right. And let me double check. Let me go behind. And I'm like, I'm not even that type of person.
Okay.
So, you know, being with this person is like, wow. I tell people it's good men out there.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes they be the ones that then went through stuff with women, because like nowadays it's not just men that's abusive.
Not at all. 2.9 million men.
Wow.
How about that? Not at all. 2.9 million men in the U.S. deal
And
with
you be like,
abuse.
you be like in your mind, like thinking like, you a man, how was you abused by anybody, or how? And a lot of times we women and people think men can't get abused by women or can't be in a relationship like that. It's more, I'm like, it's more cases than we really know.
And you know what? Most of those cases come from men not putting their hands on the female, and the
Right.
female ends up putting her hands on him, and she becomes the abuser. Because what's
Mhm.
happening is the man put his hands on the woman. He's the first one to go to jail. All right, Miss Nail Tech over there doing your nails all over the Well, same question for you. When you found love and you were open and ready, or is this like an ongoing thing? You know, as far as like in the back of your mind, like Tammy would say, you would sit there, you're thinking you don't want to sabotage a new relationship. When you found love, how did you go about it?
I'm not there yet because I definitely, like, I got some issues. I definitely have trust issues. It's hard for me to let people in and let people love me.
Okay.
Okay. And I am seeking some help about it because I know that I do deserve love. I mean, at one point I was thinking like, dang God, am I supposed to be alone? But they say it's somebody out there for everybody. But I just got to learn to put my guard down, I guess.
Okay. Kim Ham, the go-to girl, you know it's your turn, baby doll.
I have so much feedback, but the one thing that I would like to say is thank you to each of these beautiful women for sharing very difficult stories. There is so much richness in the content that I'm almost speechless. But some of the things that I heard were words like, I didn't know, get the courage, had to build. Even when you ladies are telling your stories and you literally go back in your minds to those moments to the point that you drew emotion from each of us, what helped me to control my emotion during your stories was the simple fact that you guys are here to tell it. And I applaud you for that, because that shows that even in the midst of all of that challenge, you are actually stronger than you've ever given yourselves credit for. So please don't feel any less than as you share your story, because we all make choices off of what we know to do at that time. If you had known better, if you had the tools at that time to do better, then you would have. You worked with what you had at the time. Even when you say that you take responsibility for the initial hit, that is because you're going through a phase in life. We're in that me phase. We're going through that from childhood to it's about me and what I need to do to survive and hit the next level. So you're taking responsibility even when it's not yours to take. That wasn't wrong. That was just a part of your developmental process. But for you to share these stories today, to talk about how you survived, to talk about the pain, first of all, when it comes to the trust issue, your trust issue must change with self first. And the reason why that is so important is because you still feel some sense of responsibility for how you got in that situation in the first place. And it's not necessarily the outside that you don't trust, it's the inside that you don't trust. So start with, there is nothing wrong with me. I worked with what I had at the time. You must start there. There are other people who've made really screwed up choices that we just don't see it. Yours just happened to be out there where other people could see. You've been betrayed. When you talked about your cousin, I could see the energy of betrayal coming all over you. Don't allow somebody else's misfortune to become a part of your fabric. You've done enough of that. You've done enough of taking all of outside trash and making it your own. There is nothing trashy about you. There's nothing wrong with you. You survived. Each of you thought about your children. That meant that for that one moment, you are able to get out of that situation mentally long enough to survive. and you will continue to survive. But the first person you must learn to trust is yourself. And you are a wonderful person to trust because you got yourself in a big mess before. And guess what? You got yourself out of it. And it's okay to recognize that those emotions are still there. The difference will be that now you will not let them control you. And that's hard. It's hard to take back your control when you've given, listen to me, given so much away. You didn't realize that's what you were doing at the time. You worked with what you had at the time, but you were able to take it back long enough to survive. And you'll continue to do that. Don't give up on yourself, and that will help you open up to that one who's waiting.
Okay, that is Kim Ham, life coach Kim Ham, the go-to girl that is also on the panel. She's one of the lovely co-hosts. Kim Ham, can you please give your information if somebody has questions or want to reach out, want to take one of your classes that you have? Go ahead and give them the information.
Right now, I'm at kimhamthegotogirl.com. You can email me at kimhamthegotogirl@att.net, or you can call me at 330-720-3456. But if you call, please leave a message because I get such a large volume of calls. I may not answer on your initial call, but if you leave me your information, I will definitely call you back. I focus on those who are dealing with anxiety and circumstantial depression. Circumstantial depression is when what's happening in your life is what's causing you to feel depressed or sad, causing you to have changes in your appetite or your sleep patterns. It's not the clinical depression per se, where you're taking like a medication to try to correct a hormonal imbalance, although it can progress to that. So that's what I deal with. Please feel free to call me. A lot of times it's a ministry, not just a business. So it's not like I'm waiting for you to give all the money out of your pocket. I'm here because God has given me that gift of insight to help. So I hope that you ladies understand that you have more than what you've ever given yourselves credit for, just because we're able to hear your story.
All right, one more time, Kim. Phone number?
330-720-3456. Or you can hit me up at kimhamthegotogirl.com, and you can hit contact me, and you can email me through my website.
All right. Thank you much, Kim Ham. She always wrap it up. Love her to pieces. This is going to be another question that I have for you, lovely ladies, lovely survivors that I have on the panel. Did you have outside support? And when I say that, and this is not great support, good support or bad is the question, good or bad, because you always have that person on the outside that says, just like Nick Ham, the voice of the community, she was giving you real expressions. No, you know what I mean? She had those expressions that you already know, that's your bad support. That'd be like, girl, please, I'd have been left. It's easier said than done. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask both you young ladies, and you can come on at any time and answer that question. Did you have good or bad support? Tam, unmute yours. Tam, unmute yours. There you go.
I'm gonna say I had good support.
Okay.
And
what did
my
they
support
do?
was my aunt, she opened my eyes to seeing it on a mental level, and she also made me feel like she told me my situation was bad and she encouraged me to leave, but she also let me know that she was going to be there for me regardless of what I decided to do. But she said, I'm going to tell you what I feel is right. She said, but you're not going to do that until you get tired.
Okay.
And I remember, like, of all people, my grandfather, my grandpa Melvin Parker, oh my goodness. I can remember my grandmother. Like, I never really heard my grandma, because, you know, when you hear Christians, you never really hear them cuss. Like, my grandma was one of them people. You did not hear cuss. But I'm going to tell you, my kid's father, I'm going to say the anger that she felt for him, that is the only time I heard my grandma cuss. And I remember her saying to me one day, she said, Tam, because I had come over her house, I had bruises on my arms, and my face was healing from a black eye that I had. And it was while I was pregnant with my daughter. And I remember my grandmother was like, Tam, he ain't no damn good. You need to leave him. And she had me face to face. And I really didn't, I didn't even know how to tell my grandma, like, I'm scared, because she would always quote me this Bible verse. And I'm like, I can't let her know that I'm scared. Like, she didn't know. And I can remember my granddad coming down the stairs and saying, Nay, leave her alone. And he took me, he said, Tam, he said, you got to do this on your own. He said, Grandpa, no, you scared, but you got to leave him. He said, that's the only way you're going to be okay. He said, you got to get that courage. He said, it's in there. He said, you just have to find it within yourself. He said, you don't deserve this. And that stuck with me. And it was like a fire lit inside of me. Like, I knew I had to leave. And I knew that it was going to be soon. I couldn't say what day, but every day was like a plan in my head. How can I leave? How can I leave him? And it was like one day God put the steps in order, like my brother, the phone call. It was like he opened that door for me to be able to leave and for people to really come and help me be able to leave. Like, it wasn't supposed to be my aunt that helped me be able to leave. I can remember calling her like, I'm ready to leave. And she was all the way in Farrell at the bingo hall. So I knew she couldn't get there. And it was like God put my brother to call, and my brother was asking me questions, and he could sense that something was going on and it was bad. And he said, okay, we gonna talk in code. And he said the ice cream was the code. And he knew, like, okay, we need the police, we need this, that. And it was like he was there for me. My grandfather was there for me. They knew that they had to come with the cavalry because I was like, I'm ready. And I knew, like, because people leave bad relationships and they go back. And I could honestly say maybe they feel like they don't have nobody. And I tell people, if you're going to be that person in that person's ear when they in an abusive relationship, don't tell them what they want to hear. Be honest with them. You have to be honest and encouraging and uplifting, because most of the time, their self-esteem is broken. They feeling low. They feeling like they don't have no way out. And if you're going to be there for that person, you have to be there for them to the fullest. Not, I ain't dealing with that no more. She just going to go back, or he just going to go back. No, you can't be that way. You really have to be there and genuinely love them and be there for them. Because when they feel like they don't have nobody, I feel like that's when they stay.
Okay. The same question for you, Sylena.
I had good support. My mother, even though I chose to leave, she never was not there for me. Always was there for me, and she always used to be. Now I'm terrified of this man, and she always be like, "You could take him, girl," because she did. She was like, "Mom, I can't take him," but it's just so crazy because I watched my mom. She was abused by my dad for a long time, and she got 5 brothers, and they always used to say, why?
Turn the light.
Okay, hold on.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm gonna sit back down in my spot. But my mom had 5 brothers, and they always used to say, you know, why didn't you never say nothing to us? And she always used to say, well, you know, I had to make sure I was ready to go. And she said it wasn't no sense to me telling you if I was gonna turn back around and go back with him. So my mom, I guess, because she went through it, and now knowing that she probably could take my dad now. She was trying to give me that same strength, but I used to think, you know, when you're in there, you think that they're the biggest and baddest person, and if you call somebody, that person that you're gonna call gonna get beat up. You just terrified. I can recall living with my grandmother. He had 2 huge guns, and he had the neighbor come tell me, you know, hey, Sylena, he wants you down the street. I said, I'm not walking down the street. I'm gonna go down the street and I'm not gonna come back. I said, I'm not going down the street. And I can remember getting a text message, and he said, if you don't come out, I'm gonna start shooting. So all I could do was get my grandmother in her late 70s, a guy she was taking care of with one leg, who she let live in her house, and my cousin who was sick, and I just put him in the hallway because I wasn't going outside. And sure enough, he drove down the house and he riddled my grandmother's house with bullets.
So he meant what he said.
Yes. And even though this happened, you guys, like, the cops came. And the first thing I asked the cops was, did anybody else call y'all? Because if we was the only one call y'all, I'm not talking to y'all. Because I was that scared. And yeah, I didn't want to talk to him if we was the only one that called. Because I didn't want to make it seem like we was the ones that called, even though he did this to us. And I didn't want to talk to the cops then. He shot at me. He shot up my grandmother's car when I was driving it. And that was the last straw. And I ended up actually not being afraid to talk to the police and going through and pressing charges. They didn't go anywhere, but I still stood up for myself at that time.
But you knew if you would have walked down the street, that was it.
Oh, yes, for sure. For sure, if I would have walked down the street, I definitely wouldn't be here. That was his whole goal, his whole plan. And the fact that he would even put everybody's life who was in that house at risk let me know that I definitely made the right choice by not walking down that street. And I don't know if he thought getting the neighbor's son was going to make it better, but I already knew what he had on him. And yeah, no, I wasn't going to be walking back up the street.
So did you press charges?
I did not that time. But the last time he did, I was in a car, and he came out with a huge, it was so weird because he was calm. He came outside calm. It was 90 degrees outside. He had on a black hoodie. And out of nowhere, he just pulled this big rock out and went through the windshield. And it was another female over there. And I remember hearing him say, I'm about to shoot this bee. He go in the house and he come out with this big gun, and I'm backing up at this time because I believe him. And he just like that, shoot up. And I called the police, and I did press charges this time, and we did go to court. He had a really good lawyer who like downplayed everything I said. Well, it was hot outside. Why did he have on a black hoodie? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm telling you, he had on the black hoodie. And so he just pulled a rock out. He came to you calm, and out of nowhere, he just pulled out a rock. And I'm like, yeah. So it didn't end up going anywhere.
So you felt like the law wasn't on your side, just your family who actually witnessed it.
Correct. But I guess karma has a way of coming back around, because he actually did that to another female who, I don't know what made her case different than mine, but she did press charges and it did stick.
Okay. How many children do you have with him?
Oh, just one.
Just one. Okay. Now, I do have to ask you a question. Is that why you didn't press charges at the beginning, because of your child? Or no?
I
The very first time when you said you didn't, the first time when he shot up your grandmother's house.
No, it wasn't because of my child. It was I was scared.
You were scared. Okay.
I was scared. And I mean, when the cops got there, the first thing I asked them before I said anything is, did anybody else call y'all besides us? Because I didn't even want to talk to them if we were the only people that called.
Okay.
I don't know why that was my logic, but if other people call, I might talk to you guys. But if we was the only one that called, no.
You didn't want him to know that you were the one that called. So
Correct.
okay. I appreciate your honesty. Any last words that you would like to tell someone that may be going through something? Tammy already did hers. And if you have something else, feel free to them.
So if someone is in a situation like I was, who thought that I'm going to stay because this is love, or, you know, I want the old me back, the old him or her back.
Is that why, not to cut you off, but is that it? Are you still trying to date the person that came at the beginning, who you're looking for?
Yep. And for me, that's what it was. I was trying to get him back. I wanted him back, so I stayed because, you know, he used to love me, and we can get back to it.
So you wanted the potential. Let me date the potential.
And I just want to let you guys know that that person is dead. And if you thinking it's love, I'm going to tell you what love is, okay? Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. And love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth.
Well, amen. I like that.
Man, 1 Corinthians.
All right. All right. Tam, any last words for you? To tell them young girls out there, because you know what, you made a point. You said that you had makeup and you were covering, you know, your bruises as you were healing. Your arms were bruised, but now we have young women who are, like I said, comparing war wounds. What's wrong, Kim Ham? I know we're gonna talk about this after, you know, I go ahead and let them go. Go ahead, Tam.
I know me personally, I was ashamed of my bruises, like to the point where I could remember one specific time my kid's father, I was pregnant with my daughter. He was on the phone with his mother and she was saying stuff about me. And I was like, why is your mother even talking about me? She don't live here. She don't know what go on. And I can remember him hitting me. And I can remember him being gone. This is how bad the fear be in us. Him being gone, and I probably could have packed a bag and walked out the house. But I was so afraid that I can remember his father came by the house and my mother came by the house that day, and I would not come downstairs. I lied and said I was sick, just sit stuff on the kitchen table and I would get it. I can remember, like, I wouldn't come out, but when it come time for me to go to work, it was this young man I work with. He looked at me and I can remember him. He put his hand on my hand. He said, Tammy, you don't have to continue to live like this. And I could just remember being like so ashamed and so embarrassed. He said, I know. He kept saying, I know, I see, I pay attention. And this was one of the very men that my kid's father would accuse me of messing with at work. So I was afraid to even be his friend.
Okay.
because of this. This would cause me to get jumped on. And it didn't matter that I was pregnant or I had just had a child. It did not matter. I'm like, I can't, and the world is different now. I can't even phantom being okay with discussing bruises being on my face and being okay with it.
Okay, so what would you
I'm
tell young
even
people?
uncomfortable with being accidentally bumped and bruising. And people thinking that I'm going through this again. Like,
Okay.
it's not normal. There's nothing normal about anybody making you look the way you're not supposed to look, the way that your face is not supposed to be when you look in the mirror. There is something definitely wrong with anybody making you look bad or discolored or disfigured. It's wrong. There is nothing love about that, because in my mind, I think, how can he or she even look at you as being a beautiful person after they have messed up your face or put bruises on you or put you in a hospital? How can they even say that that's love at all? It's not. It's not.
Okay. I appreciate you two lovely women coming on. You have no idea, and sharing your story. You guys are awesome. My two survivors, they are doing it, and hopefully this touched somebody, opened their eyes to something. Family members of someone that you may suspect being abused, because there are some women who deny it. But with this younger generation, like I said, when I saw them comparing their war wounds, and like, oh no, girl, he did this. Oh, it was almost, it broke my heart. It was like, who got beat up the worst, or who, like, come on. There are women out there that can't even share their story because they are no longer alive. So it's like, what do you do? I use my platform to make people aware. Real live edutainment, but this is a serious topic. Even though we have what's going on right now with and I call it a race war, we still have domestic violence that is still going on out there. And we're going to continue this conversation. I'm going to let you two lovely ladies go. I truly appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And thank you. And thank you, Tam. I'm sure you guys
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys have no idea. And this is thank you for coming on the panel, man. This is their testimony. This is their story. They are still here, just like Kim Ham said, to share their story. I'm sure Kim Ham is going to have the information, because she always is together, as far as what number you can call for domestic violence. I'll let her handle that point and that part. I know you got it, so I ain't even gonna go there. I'm gonna let you handle that part. Nick, the voice of the community, she's gonna weigh in on that, and we gonna keep talking about y'all. But I'm gonna let y'all go, okay?
Okay.
All right, I love you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Nick, I know you wanted to say some things. Go ahead, girl. You gotta make sure you unmute yourself. You still on mute, baby doll. Hold on. Let's see. All right. What's your thoughts? The voice of the community.
Oh, Jesus.
What's the community thinking?
It's so many things is running through my mind. The cousin. Knowingly walking her into danger and then leaving her. I'm sorry, but I'd have had to whoop my cousin's tail. I'm gonna be nice.
Okay.
She'd have had a well whoop behind.
Okay.
For that one. I was always the cousin that fought the boyfriends. Okay. I was the cousin that fought the boyfriends. And all of them ex-boyfriends will tell you, I wasn't the one that was going to back down. But when it came to my situation, nobody was always there. It was there for me. I had to fight several times. My dad has stepped up for me several times. It took. The final straw was me having to go to the police station with blood dripping on my dress because we had just come from a reception where I had, and the one police officer out there didn't want to do anything about it. My mom took me out to Mercer to the assistant DA to talk to him. Listen, and they were, what was the officer's name? And he didn't do anything. He didn't go find this man. He didn't take you back in the station. I said no. He wouldn't even walk back in the station with me. That that was I mean, I was tired of fighting because I was the one that was fighting. I would fight.
Mm-hmm.
And just weeks prior, we were in Mississippi at a family reunion of mine. Mind you, I was on the family reunion is my mom's side of the family, but we staying at my dad's side. I got both sides of my family there. You want to come down here and act a fool? He almost lost his life that day. What saved him was God, and my brothers and them, because I did not know that they had separated the clip from the gun. Good.
Because you was ready.
I was going to shoot him and drag him in them woods down there in Mississippi and let them animals have their way. Because he tried his best to hide.
Okay, so here's the same thing. You had a plan just as Tammy had a plan. Like, okay, it's either me or him. Kim, come on. Unmute yours there. I want you to come on and weigh in. So you have Nick, who also dealt with that, and she was already ready to kill him, and then she went to the police, and the police failed her, just as Sylena was saying the police failed her. What's your thoughts on that?
As an individual police department, I don't know, but I do know the statistics show that in domestic violence cases, a woman or the man in the situation, whoever's being abused, can go up to 5 to 7 times before they're actually ready to take a stand against their abuser. And I don't want to say that they become desensitized to that. It's just that they are aware of the fact that sometimes when they respond, that person is going to go right back into that situation. And instead of treating each situation as if it's the last time, they, for whatever reason, will allow that person to remain in that situation. But yeah, up to 5 to 7 times, police can respond to a situation and that person will go right back to it. Oftentimes without any sense of gratitude, because that call to the police department is part of the process. You know, we get into this altercation, I'm going to call the police, they're going to come out, they're going to break us up, we're going to get back together. And there's this vicious cycle. And oftentimes there's no opportunity to decide where at in the cycle the abused person is.
That's why, to me, I feel as though that you need to treat everyone as, just like we do in the medical field. If somebody say they're going to kill themselves and they cry wolf 100,000 times, we still have to go as if that's the very first time. And you still have to treat them as if that's the very first time, because that might be the time.
But that is not always the practice. And even in our field, there are those, because you have some in every profession, every situation, who will say, oh, this is just another cry wolf call.
And that's not okay for me. That's not okay for me, because if it's that time, I feel horrible. I would feel horrible that something happened because I thought that I can't force my thoughts onto somebody else because I thought that they were playing this time. Oh, they were for real this time. And it's true, because you're right, Kim, in our field, there are some people that feel like, oh, okay, they're coming back. Oh yeah, they're coming back. And then they'll tell them the right thing. And I'm not going to share that, but they'll tell them how to cut their wrists.
That's right.
Being smart. I'm not going to share that information, but I think that's so they don't need to be there. It's just so wrong. And if you are in a field or an occupation where you are serving the people, hear me, serving the people, you have to be of service. You cannot sit there and make an assumption or be the police prophet or medical prophet and say, okay, that's not going to happen. You have to treat it as it is. I know I said Kim Ham was going to do it, but just in case you leave, because she'll do it after, please call 1-800-799-7233. That's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Kim going to go into a little more detail on the situation. And I want to reflect on how you felt about their stories, Nick. I'm talking about Tammy and Sylena that came on the panel. How do you feel about them sharing their story? Nick, can you hear me? No, oh, you're thinking about it.
I'm glad I'm glad they finally got the courage to get out. I am, but there were so many opportunities that they really had, especially with Sylena. Honey, while you had it in your mouth, baby girl, why don't you just clamp down? Because that will bring a man to his knees.
Now, here's the thing. Go, Kim, because I know you want to respond to that answer that she had. It's very different, honey. It's very different. Go ahead, Kim. I'll let you answer it.
In situations like this, and she basically answered the question because she was trying to find the person that got her into this situation in the first place. She was seeking the other guy. And she said, you know, maybe he's still there. And oftentimes when people are in abusive relationships, they are hoping that they can love that person back to that place. They're hoping that they can find the sweet spot that was once there. They believe that they can rekindle the relationship, because you have to realize how dysfunctional it is. You are very self-centered in that situation from the very beginning, thinking, I did something to cause this. That means I can do something to fix it. So she wasn't going to clamp down to make the situation worse. At that point, she was so terrified that she was going to die. She had found something else to live for. She said all of that. But the one important thing that she said was, I was waiting for the old man to come back. So even in the midst of all of that hell, there was still hope. And she had to realize that hope gave way to the reality that she was bringing another life into this. So sometimes we look at these situations as complicated, and they're really not. It was just that simple. She was looking for what was never going to be there again, but she also was able to look for what was coming. At that point, she was in survival mode, and there was no way she was going to survive if she had offended this man one more time. That's how she felt.
Okay, go ahead. What's your next question, Nick? What other thing that you question? The community. See, the community. I know you got
really
some other stuff
because
there.
like I said, I've been on both sides, and that's, you know, a lot of people don't understand, especially some of the guys. Like, why are you so feisty? Why you? And if you've been through what I've been through, you would understand why I'm so feisty and why I will fight in a heartbeat. I've been in several situations. Listen, I can understand where they're coming from, but then like the fighter in me be like, listen, we'd had to fight to the death for real from day one. And it's like, I understand, you know, Sylena was hoping to bring that person back, but once it goes to the left, after it went to the left the first time, baby, he wasn't coming back.
And that's where she, and it took some growth, because she said that
it wasn't coming. Yeah.
Now, Tammy actually said that she fought back, and he was shocked that she actually fought back, as you were saying. And I know that you were getting, you know, different messages as I'm getting, which are similar to your questions. So that's why I'm like, that's why Nick, the voice of the community. Go ahead. Kim, what do you think about that?
When she fought back?
Yes, when she decided to fight back, and
because for her, the seed of getting out of that situation had been planted. And she was saying how she was hearing it from different loved ones, but what they all did, which I think was key, was to help her understand, you have the power to do this. When you decide you've had enough, then you will do differently. And when she fought back, he realized that there was something different in her. And so he had to fight harder, because he realized that at the moment she swung back, she was starting to take control of herself in that situation. And so the battle became real at that point, because she said he was shocked to the point where he came at her even harder than before, because he realized, for lack of a better way to say it, the dog was turning on him. You gonna bite me back? And so he had to try to reassert his authority, but at the same time, she realized there's no going back now. I've stepped out into this, and if I'm going to survive it, I'm going to have to keep going.
That's exactly what happened. He realized that there was a change, just like she did. You're not going to keep doing this to me. And that was the response. He went into fight or flight mode. Usually it was her. This time it was them.
And that's what ended up happening with her. When she fought back, he fought back harder.
Yes.
Him pretty much said, and it's like, then it got worse. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I did this. And it sounds like it was, I have control. Whoop, she hit back up. Somebody's building her up. Let me
That's right.
please.
That's right.
So, okay. Anything else, Miss Nick?
No, I just, child, listen.
Well, Nick, thanks
For
Nikki,
those young
thanks for sharing
ladies,
your story. You know,
that-
thank you for sharing yours.
Yes. Go ahead, Nick. You said them ladies what?
I mean, it's all of it is bad. They had a lot of similarities. Mine was, I'm just gonna fight, period, all the time, anytime. It was, I'm not gonna say it was different, but it was still like abuse is abuse. Those young ladies, get out now while you can. It ain't that, don't compare no battle wound, nothing, because the next time you may not be here to compare a battle wound. And especially at that young of an age. I witnessed about a month ago, I had to run to Target, and I wasn't trying to go to no stores, but I had to run a Target. 14, 15-year-old couple, outside with their little friends or whatever, and a little 14-year-old boy cussing this girl out. I mean, all in her face, yelling at her, and she was like afraid. You're acting immature, you're this and you're that. And he like balling his fist up at her. I like, stop.
Okay.
Like, because the little white boy, trust and believe, if he'd have swung on that girl and hit her, I'm sorry, Boardman would have been taking me to jail, because I'd have drugged that boy through that parking lot.
And is that because of what you? And is that because of what you've gone through?
Huh?
Is that because you would have responded that way because of what you've gone through? And you
yes, I listen. And even before that, like I said, I was the one that always fought, a couple of my cousins' battles with their men. And those guys will tell you, listen, we don't mess with her. She crazy. But, at the same token, the only person, like, when it was me going through it, those relatives they weren't there for me. So it's like, but I'm never going to turn my back, because I'm still going to be like, I wish you would put your hands on her in front of me, But it's just like, at that moment, I like stopped, and like everybody was looking, but I guess because the little boy kind of caught a glimpse at me, and the look I had on my face, he like just completely stopped yelling and walked away from her. But if he'd have hit her, y'all listen.
okay.
I'd have been in jail.
Now, Kim,
Yes.
Sylena actually said that she was isolated first. He isolated her first. So
Yes.
what's your rebuttal on what Nick just said?
Well, he was grooming her. He was grooming her, and he was putting her in position, and he was also exploring to see just how much he could get away with her. Nick wanting to be the advocate for that woman is fine, but he's already positioned himself to do that, and she's already given him permission to do that. And so if she did not correct that or address that in any way, even outside of Nick's sight, he already knows what to do. That's probably not the first time he's done it. It could be worse at home. Maybe she felt okay that he did that in public because it was less than what she would have gotten had no one else been. So we don't know exactly what the story is, but yes, to isolate, to see what you can do, to set it up. People who hurt other people know how to spot weakness. They know how to take opportunities. They know how to manipulate a situation. You show them, whether intentionally or not, just how far they can go. And to these young women out here who are comparing their battle wounds, what they are feeling is a misplaced sense of belonging and acceptance within that relationship. That he loves me, he cares, I'm getting attention from him. Sometimes bad attention, bad news is better than no news. We've heard that so many times. Bad publicity is better than none at all. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you get the attention as long as you get it.
And you
And
are
that could
absolutely
be
right.
a large part of why these young ladies are proud that someone has shown them some attention, no matter how displaced it is.
It seems like it's twisting because, you know, before it was a time where the man was a provider.
Mm-hmm.
And now with these younger women, but I gotta say, even the old ones with the cleanup woman, where she's like, that car, I paid for it. So they was buying people years ago, you know what I mean?
Woman to woman.
Surely. Yes, there you go. And now it's the women are taking care, these young girls are taking care of these young men, and they're getting beat. What's really going on with the psyche? And why is it being changed? You have women that are going after men instead of letting the men go after the woman. And then she's the sole provider and she's paying for everything and he's at home and doing everybody in town while she's at work and beating her, and she is the sole provider. Like, they're not even getting jobs. And the excuse is, okay, well, he has a felony, so he can't work. Like, how does that work?
That was
He's showing them what they need at the time. They're showing these women that they're important. These women have a sense of value. They are finding what they're being told is there, even though it's not healthy at all. They have a man, they have the means to take care of that man, and fighting is just part of the process. If you look at what we're seeing in the media and the movies, I mean, if you look at what our culture has turned into, and I don't mean that as a race thing, our culture of young people in America today, conflict is part of the process. Make up sex. That means you got to fight first, right?
No, you're right about that. You absolutely. Look at Nick looking like, huh? Yeah, you're right about that. And some people do like that makeup.
That was me. I was the sole provider in the first marriage. That meant I'm putting it to you like this is what my mother said. He wouldn't work in a pie factory if all he had to do was taste pies.
I like that one.
Running around town with all the women, and it would drop me off at work in my car that my mama bought me, and my mama would see him ride around with some girl in it, and then when I would question him, he was, your mom didn't see me, she was mistaken, so my mama don't know what car she bought me.
Okay, so you had
that, boy. Come on now.
So you had all that going.
Yes.
Hey, what's that sound? You know that sound?
Males
medical findings. Hey, lovely people. Today we are going to talk about foods that you should probably actually avoid. You should probably avoid them. And I know you usually do like this horoscopes and all that lovely stuff. But according to PETA, and I want to put this out here, according to PETA, for all you PETA fans, I'm just going to put it out there, okay? Aries, the food that you should avoid is spicy food, meat, salt, and alcohol. It does not do well with your body. Leo, avoid spicy foods, meat, and dairy products. Does not go well with your body. I'm going to give you the website too, so you guys can look it up and see what foods that you should actually eat. You probably like them anyway, because you got to listen to your body. When your body craves something, it's obviously lacking something, okay? Sagittarius, avoid spicy foods, sweets, refined sugar, meat, dairy, and alcohol. I have a Sagittarius. She need to sit down with that alcohol, okay? Gemini, that's this season right now. Avoid coffee, meat, dairy, root vegetables, which is your potatoes, and radishes, yeasty foods, and refined sugar. That's gonna be hard. I like pasta. So Geminis, if you like pasta, it don't work for you. All right. Libra, avoid alcohol. I know a Libra. Avoid alcohol. Listen. Meat, dairy, carbonated beverages, which is your sodas and things like that, yeasty foods, and refined sugars. Aquarius, avoid coffee, meat, dairy, yeasty foods, and refined sugars. Hey, this must be something with that. Cancer, avoid oily foods, meat, dairy, salt, sweets, and refined sugars. Scorpio, avoid oily foods, meat, dairy, yeasty foods, salt, sweets, and refined sugars. Something common. Pisces, avoid coffee, oily food, yeasty foods, dairy, asparagus. I like asparagus, but I'm not a Pisces. Salt, sweets, and refined sugar. Taurus, avoid rich and heavy foods, excessive amounts of carbohydrates and meat. The Virgo, which is me, yay. Avoid rich and heavy foods. That is the truth, hard to digest, okay? Chocolate, I don't even like chocolate, so that works for me. And meat, I'm not a big meat eater, so hey, it might be something to that. Capricorn, avoid rich and heavy foods, spicy foods, chocolate, meat, and dairy. Hey, they told us to go ahead and eat it. The Virgo, did I get everybody? I hope I did. If I didn't, I apologize. I think I got everybody though. All
They
right.
told Pisces to stay away from coffee.
Yes, it told Pisces.
Oh Lord, and that's all I eat.
You a
I mean,
Pisces?
drink. Yes,
This is what they tell Pisces to eat. Wheat, whole grain cereals, rice, oats, fruits, apples, grapes, oranges, lemons. Oh, a whole bunch of fruits, steamed vegetables, spinach, onions, seaweed, beans, dates, which is a big giant raisins. What they like, little prunes? I don't even know.
yes.
And natural sugars. What's yours, Kim? Gemini? Oh, that's this season. Oh, we gotta have a party. I don't know what kind of party we gonna have though, because with this coronavirus, let me find Gemini real quick. Gemini, since we got the Geminis on here. Gemini, where did I find? Aquarius, Libra. Okay, Gemini, eat. You probably do it already. This is what you should eat. Plums, oranges, grapefruit, grape juice, raisins, apples, lettuce. You probably eating lettuce now. Doggone salad. Cauliflower, spinach, carrots, celery, green beans, tomato, vegan yogurt, almonds, cayenne, garlic, and ginger. So what you on, some type of plant-based diet? I can't hear you because your the things on mute. I don't know, get you on mute, baby doll. Let's see here if we got it. Yep, we got you on mute. There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Go ahead. What you say?
Oh, no wonder I'm talking and nobody's saying nothing back. I was saying that a lot of what you listed is what I eat, so that's kind of like, wow. Yeah.
Isn't that something? Because even I was shocked, because even for me, what it had me eating, I was like, oh, I eat that anyway. And the things it's telling me not to eat, that's when I usually get sick. Because mine is whole grain cereal, wheat, fruit salads. I like fruit juice, lemon juice, bananas. I'm a Virgo. Leafy green vegetables, which I really, really love, with spices. See, I can eat spices and I can be all right. Look, sprouts.
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of spice.
Yeah, and my favorite food is soup. And it says soup and tea. Y'all ready?
Keep her tea.
And almonds. I keep me some tea. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And,
Yeah, it's like right spot on.
It was spot on. Okay, so that's the PETA website. I want you guys to know. So www.peta.org. All right.
PETA, is it P-E or P-I?
P-E-T-A.
Okay.
P-E-T-A. All right. And then that way you can look and see what's going on. And I was just really shocked, because heavy rich foods, like when I go to Maryland, that's some heavy rich food. Oh, I be loving it, but it don't love me. I be like, oh, I done ate too much. Oh, now I'm sick. Like, what am I doing? It's just so, it seems it's richer. It's a heavy rich food. But
it's a heavy rich, yeah.
But I love it, and it don't love.
I love that heavy rich food.
All right, that's a treat. A real treat. Let's touch base on what happened in what was it? Farrell, PA, I want to say.
Yeah.
Real quick, Farrell, PA. They had a car that ran through their peaceful protests. Oh. Did you guys hear anything about that?
I didn't hear that.
Did you hear?
Yeah. The news
license plate
was 21 News, WFMJ. They actually was at the police station talking to one of the bosses after they got down to the police station. They let that woman go, and a couple people, filmed it.
Uh-huh.
It had it live on Facebook, and they had the police escorted her to an old abandoned parochial school, to the parking lot a couple blocks from the police station, after about an hour, when trying to shield her.
They escorted her. Why?
They did, because
Oh,
If it was one of us, they would have handcuffed you right there.
oh, she probably said that she was scared.
Mhm.
What about the 75-year-old man in Buffalo, New York, that the police officer pushed him down? Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, and the police, I saw the video, they tried to say he tripped. He didn't trip, he got pushed.
He definitely got pushed. I saw the
And
video.
then when one police officer went to go, help the man, the other police officer that pushed him, pushed that police officer out the way and shook his head no.
And is that the one that had the billy stick?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I saw the video, and the video was very sad. The man, he wasn't even stable, just standing up there, thin guy, 75 years old. He did push him, and that's what that video showed. He pushed him. He hit the ground. Boom. And somebody had a video of it. When he hit the ground, his neck snapped, instantly started bleeding from the back of his head. There was a lot of
in
them.
his ear.
It wasn't his ear too, because I saw the back blood part of it, and it was the back of his head.
Your
so
blood was coming
probably
out.
has
The
a
one
little-
picture I saw, blood was coming out of his ear too.
Okay,
Out
so
of his ear.
now they redid the video now, but the very first video you saw, which is so different, and then they blurred his face out on the newer video. I saw the actual video of the man, and I saw him talking to the actual police officer, and I saw the police officer push him. Like I said, he was unstable. He was a taller guy, but he was thin. It wasn't necessary, and that's why they let that particular officer go. But here's my point. When that man hit the ground and he hit his head and instantly started bleeding, you could see the blood on the ground. You had other officers walking. It was one young officer, and he was white, that called for help. He saw that there was something wrong. There was a whole bunch of them behind him, but that one did call. So thank you for your service, okay? Because that man, he was stable. He was actually ended up going to the hospital, and he was stable. The problem that I had, they let the guy that pushed him go. The mayor ended up saying, he was like, that was excessive force, like, get out of here, or the chief. But the mayor wasn't okay with that, like, because of the video footage. Now they're trying to push forward where they don't want us to be able to use the cell phones, where police officers are arresting people for using their cell phones. You got to check that out. No, this is what's helping us. Why don't you want us to use the cell phone? We had Officer Malik on 2 weeks ago, where he actually said that he was like, use the video footage. He said, because it actually helps me too. He said, just make sure you give him a good side, So I was like, I know that's right. But you have the cameras are actually working for you. And he said that the police can use your camera as evidence, and hence this is what's going on right now. But on that situation in Buffalo, the one guy, he ended up getting released, and they said that 57, don't quote me on it, you guys look it up, 57 officers walked out. They quit. Go ahead and quit, because I would rather have one good one than all bad. And then you have where they're saying, and this is my views, and my views does not reflect the views of the guests on the Shop Talk with Mel or the co-host of Shop Talk with Mel. However, you hear people constantly say, okay, the KKK, the KKK, the KKK. Here's the deal. They're not wearing hoods anymore. And they're saying that they're wearing badges. Now, this is word to the curve, okay? Mm-hmm. Not all of them, but we had retired sergeant on the show last week, I think it was.
Sergeant Moss.
Sergeant Moss, where he actually was saying the issues internally within the police department. So they have issues internally. You have Officer Malik, who said that the police don't have those issues where at his jurisdiction, where he polices at. And Sergeant Moss, retired Sergeant Moss, actually was saying, hey, this is an issue going on. And that's why they still have that program where he's the president of, what is this, police officers for equal rights? I think.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, this is going on. So for the 57 that left, if you mad and you gonna walk off because one of your comrades pushed a 75-year-old man down, and y'all tried to say, oh, he fell down. No. You pushed him. We saw it, and they saw it clearly. That's why they let you go. Let them go. Look, I'm like, let them go. That's today's topic. Let them go. If somebody's not treating you right, let them go. If they want to leave, let them go. It was a sermon that TD Jakes did. If people want to leave, let them go. Please, please, please. And I want to give a shout out to Noel Jones. Noel Jones actually made a statement that you guys probably don't know that I heard, where he says, if you want to know the intent, listen to the content. And I'm bringing that up because of what President Trump actually had the nerve to say. And he said that George Floyd is looking down and he does not want our economy to be this way. Sir, give me a break. Go ahead, Kim, because we're going to wrap it up. Go ahead.
There's nothing for me to say to that. I mean, all of what we've seen in the past several months are related to the well-being of the economy. It's I can't even say it's disguised or dressed up. When we talk about the virus, they did not open the country up because the virus was eradicated. They had to fix the money. You don't want to have to shut America down again because of what happened to this individual. So you focus back on the money. I mean, I'm not surprised that he said that at all. I'm not.
It's what, like, I don't. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Orange Foolius.
I knew you was gonna say something.
Orange Foolius. That's their president. Orange Foolius. He's a jackass. I'm sorry. Orange Foolius. That's all I got to say. Orange Foolius.
That's it.
What person in their right mind would say something like that after what's going on? Really?
That's
Come
even
on now,
insensitive
Trump.
to his family. That's insensitive to his family to say
Jesus.
something like that.
Listen, Black people, I'm tired of hearing people saying our votes don't matter. They put in who they want to put in. Get your Black behinds out there after what's been going on and vote. Period.
And
Point blank.
I feel you on that. And I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna add to that. Some people don't feel as though the local vote, they feel as though it's not important. It's extremely important, especially when you're voting on your judges, because those are the people that's making the decisions for your life.
Yeah.
Which is like, go ahead, Kim, wrap it up, baby.
First of all, I would like to say, in terms of domestic violence, Mel did give the phone number for that. I'm going to suggest that you call your local 211 or your help network or help hotline number, because if you can't think of the number right away when you're in the midst of that situation, your 911, your 211, those are the numbers that will give you some feedback on how to get help for yourself. So I did want to come back to that. In terms of all that we see going on around us, remember that it does begin with you. Even when, Nick is talking about voting, Mel is talking about voting, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you are right in your assumption. You don't know that because you haven't done anything to test it. So get out and still vote. Get out and still let your voice be heard, because if you're speaking up now and you're saying that this is just not right, it's a disservice to us as a people, you cannot say all of that and not do everything, especially within your legitimate power, to try to support your position. So I would like to say it does begin with you. Don't look at what's happening around you, what other people are feeding you. Start with self.
All righty, she always do it. I want to let you guys know, I'm gonna give you an example of how white privilege sounds to us. Okay, how white privilege sounds to us. You keep saying it's, for the situation we're talking about, the George Floyd, let me be clear. You keep saying it's horrible that an innocent Black man was killed, but destroying property has to stop. Try saying this: it's horrible that property is being destroyed, but killing innocent Black men have to stop. See, what's happening is you're prioritizing. That's the wrong part, what you're prioritizing. All right. All right, lovely people. Thank you for tuning in to Shop Talk with Mel. Hope you got something out of it today. Find you, embrace you. Most importantly, always, always love you. Until next week, people. Shop Talk right here on your Spreaker.com.